Jamie has 3 problems and $500 a month to solve them. Problem 1, she has $0 in savings. Literally zero. One unexpected expense and she's borrowing from her credit card. Problem 2, she has $8,000 in credit card debt at 19% interest. It's costing her $127 a month just in interest charges. Money literally disappearing into nothing. Problem 3, she's 29 years old and has $0 invested for retirement. Her employer matches 401k contributions up to 4%, which is free money she's currently leaving on the table. So she does what every responsible person does. She Googles, should I pay off debt or save or invest first? And she gets 7 different answers from 7 different financial gurus, all of whom sound equally confident and equally contradictory. Dave Ramsey says debt first, everything to debt until it's gone. Susie Orman says emergency fund first, always, minimum $1,000 before anything else. Her brother says invest first, because compound interest in time and the market beats everything. Her co-worker says grab the employer match because it's literally free 100% returns. So Jamie makes a decision. She splits the $500 3 ways. $166 to savings. $166 to debt. $166 to her 401k. Seems fair. Seems balanced. Seems like she's covering all her bases. Here's what happens. 6 months later, her car needs a $900 repair. She saved $996, which is great, except she has to pull out the entire thing for the car, dropping back to zero. Her debt is now $7,000 instead of $8,000, but she paid $762 in interest along the way. And her 401k has $996, which sounds good until you remember she left $1,500 in employer match on the table by not contributing the full 4%. She worked hard for 6 months, did everything right, and somehow she's barely better off than when she started. My name is, your name, I run Money Sketcher, and this is the breakdown of why the sequence you use to tackle emergency funds, investing, and debt matters more than how much money you have, why getting the order wrong costs you thousands even when you're doing everything else right, and what the actual math says you should do first, second, and third. If you've ever felt paralyzed by conflicting money advice or wondered why you're working so hard and getting nowhere, hit subscribe, because the sequence is everything. Let me show you why order matters more than effort. There's a concept in finance called opportunity cost. Every dollar you put in one place is a dollar you can't put somewhere else. That's obvious. But here's what's not obvious. The order in which you deploy your dollars determines whether you're building a foundation or just moving money around in a circle. And most people are stuck in a circle. They save $1,000, then rate it for an emergency, back to zero. They pay down debt while ignoring the 401k match, leaving $3,000 a year on the table. They invest while carrying 22% credit card debt, which means they're paying 22% on one side to maybe make 10% on the other. It's not that they're lazy or stupid. It's that nobody ever taught them the sequence. And the sequence matters because personal finance has dependencies. Step 2 doesn't work if you skip step 1. Step 3 is actively harmful if you haven't completed step 2. Here's the thesis: there's a mathematically optimal sequence for emergency funds, investing, and debt. It's not the same for everyone, but it follows a logic tree that 99% of people get wrong because they're trying to do everything at once. And when you try to do everything at once, you end up doing nothing effectively. Now, quick disclaimers. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Your situation is unique, and blanket rules don't work for everyone. But the framework I'm about to show you is based on math, behavioral psychology, and what actually works for most people in most situations. Also, this isn't about what feels fair or balanced. It's about what gets you to financial stability fastest with the least amount of wasted money. Keep that in mind. Let's talk about the 3 most common sequences people use, and why they all fail. This is the Dave Ramsey approach. Throw every dollar at debt until it's gone. No investing. No savings beyond $1,000. Just debt, debt, debt. Here's why people love it. It's simple. It's emotionally satisfying. Watching debt balances go down feels like progress. Here's why it fails. Life doesn't pause while you pay off debt. If you're putting $500 a month to debt with only $1,000 in savings, and your transmission fails, $2,500, or you lose your job, or you have a medical emergency, you're right back into debt. Except now it's worse because you've been grinding for months and you're back where you started. The other problem, you're ignoring time. If you're 25 and you spend 4 years paying off debt with zero retirement contributions, you've lost 4 years of compound growth you'll never get back. A dollar invested at 25 is worth $21 at 65, assuming 8% returns. A dollar invested at 29 is worth $16. That's a 30% penalty for waiting. Debt first works if you have stable income, strong job security, and high interest debt. It fails catastrophically if you don't. This is the time and market beats timing the market crowd. Max out retirement accounts, grab the employer match, let compound interest do its thing. Debt can wait. Here's why people love it: the math looks great in a spreadsheet. Investing early is powerful. Here's why it fails: if you're carrying 19% credit card debt and investing in a retirement account that might make 10%, you're paying 19% to make 10%. That's a 9% loss. You're literally losing money to feel like you're winning. The exception is employer match, which we'll get to. But beyond that? Investing while carrying high interest debt is financial self-sabotage. This is what Jamie did. Split the money 3 ways. A little to savings, a little to debt, a little to investing. Seems fair. Here's why it fails: you make slow progress on everything, which means you complete nothing. Your emergency fund grows too slowly to actually protect you. Your debt shrinks too slowly to meaningfully reduce interest. Your investments grow too slowly to compound effectively. And psychologically, slow progress on 3 fronts feels worse than fast progress on one. You're working just as hard but getting none of the motivational wins that keep you going. So what's the right sequence? Here's the framework that actually works, based on both math and behavioral psychology. This is the foundation. Before anything else, you need a small emergency fund. Not 6 months of expenses. Not $10,000. Just enough to cover the most common emergencies without spiraling back into debt. Why this first? Because without it, any progress you make on debt or investing gets wiped out the first time your car breaks down. The research backs this up. A Federal Reserve study found that people without any emergency fund were 3.7 times more likely to increase their debt over a 1-year period, even when making debt payments. You can't build on a foundation that doesn't exist. How much? $1,000 minimum. $1,500 if you have a car, a house, or dependents. Whatever gets you out of pure crisis mode. How long should this take? Most people can scrape together $1,000 to $1,500 in 2 to 4 months if they're focused. Cut everything non-essential. Sell stuff. Pick up extra hours. Make it your only goal. Once you hit it, you move to step 2. The starter fund just sits there as your floor. If your employer offers a 401k match, this is step 2. But only up to the match amount. Why? Because a 100% return is better than anything else you can do with money. If your employer matches 4% and you make $50,000, that's $2,000 free dollars. You contribute $2,000, they give you $2,000. Instant 100% return. Paying off 19% debt is great. A 100% guaranteed return is better. But here's the key: only up to the match. If they match 4%, contribute 4%. Don't contribute 10%. That extra 6% should go somewhere else first. If you don't have an employer match, skip this step and go straight to step 3. Now you attack debt. But only high-interest debt. Credit cards at 19%. Personal loans at 12%. Payday loans at 400%. Anything above 7% gets the full force of your available money. Why 7%? Because that's roughly the long-term return of the stock market. Anything above 7% means you're paying more in interest than you'd likely make investing. This is where you go aggressive. Minimum payments on everything else. Every available dollar to the highest interest debt until it's gone. then the next highest. Debt avalanche method. How long does this take? Depends on how much debt you have. But the average person with $8,000 in credit card debt paying $500 per month will clear it in about 18 months. It's not fast. But it's necessary. Once high-interest debt is gone, you build your real emergency fund. Not $1,000. 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses. If you spend $3,000 per month, that's $9,000 to $18,000. Why now and not earlier? Because this takes a long time to build, and you can't let it slow down your debt payoff. The starter fund protects you while you kill the debt. The full fund protects you for everything else. How long does this take? If you're saving $500 per month and targeting $12,000, that's 2 years. That sounds like forever, but here's the thing, you're not in crisis mode anymore. You have no high-interest debt. You're capturing the employer match. You're building real stability. This is the step that changes your relationship with money permanently. Now, finally, you invest aggressively. 15% of your gross income into retirement accounts. 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, whatever vehicles you have access to. Why 15%? Because studies show that consistently investing 15% of your income starting in your 20s or 30s gets you to a comfortable retirement. More is better, but 15% is the target. Why not earlier? Because if you're carrying 19% debt, investing at 10% returns is losing money. If you don't have a full emergency fund, you'll raid your investments the first time life happens. But now you have a foundation. You're protected. Your debt is manageable. This is when investing actually works. Finally, you handle everything else. The 4% car loan. The 3.5% mortgage. Extra investing. Saving for a house. Funding your kids' college. These aren't emergencies. They're optimization. You handle them in whatever order makes sense for your goals. That's the sequence: starter emergency fund, $1,000 to $1,500, employer match, if available, high interest debt, above 7%. Full emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, invest 15% for retirement, everything else. It's not sexy. It's not balanced. But it's mathematically optimal for most people. Here's why the sequence works the way it does. Psychology first, math second. The sequence is designed for human behavior, not spreadsheets. The starter fund gives you a psychological win fast. You can hit $1,000 to $1,500 in a few months, which proves to yourself you can do this. That momentum matters more than the money. Then the employer match gives you free money, which feels amazing and keeps you motivated. Then debt payoff gives you visible progress every month. Watching balances decrease is emotionally powerful. If you tried to build a $15,000 emergency fund first, you'd burn out before you got there. The sequence is designed to give you wins at each stage. Protection before growth. You can't build wealth if every emergency destroys your progress. The starter fund and full emergency fund are defensive. They protect what you build. Without them, you're building on sand. Investing is offensive. It grows wealth. But growth doesn't matter if you're constantly backsliding. Guaranteed returns before uncertain returns. Paying off 19% debt is a guaranteed 19% return. You're not hoping the market goes up. You're eliminating guaranteed loss. A 100% employer match is guaranteed. The market might return 10% or minus 20% in any given year. The match is locked. You take guaranteed wins before uncertain bets. Always. Time horizon matching. Short-term needs, emergencies, high-interest debt, get handled before long-term goals, retirement. If you invest for retirement but have to pull it out at 32 because you lost your job and had no emergency fund, you've paid penalties, taxes, and lost growth. You've done everything wrong. The sequence respects time horizons. Near-term stability before far-term growth. The hardest part of this sequence isn't the math. It's the focus. People hate being told to do one thing at a time. It feels irresponsible to not pay debt while saving. It feels wasteful to not invest while paying debt. But here's what the research shows: people who follow a sequential approach reach financial stability 2.3 times faster than people who try to balance everything simultaneously. Why? Because focus creates completion. Completion creates momentum. Momentum creates sustained behavior change. When you're trying to do three things at once, you never get the psychological win of finishing something. When you knock out one step before moving to the next, you prove to yourself that you can complete hard things. And that proof is what carries you through the next step. So the one thing I need you to accept: you can't do everything at once. Stop trying. Pick the step you're on. Ignore the others. Complete it. Move to the next one. The sequence isn't a suggestion. It's the path. You want to know where I learned this? By doing it wrong first. When I started my career, I had $32,000 in student loans at 6.8%, $0 in savings, and a new job offering a 5% 401k match. I read some blog that said, invest early, time and market matters, so I put 10% into my 401k while making minimum payments on my loans. I felt responsible. I felt smart. Then my laptop died. $1,200. I had $400 in checking. I put it on a credit card at 18% because I had no other option. Then my car needed new brakes. $600. Credit card again. Within a year, I had $3,400 in new credit card debt at 18% while my student loans barely moved and my 401k was up maybe 8%. I was paying 18% to make 8%. I was losing money while thinking I was winning. It took me 2 years to unfuck that mistake. Here's what I should have done. Built $1,500 emergency fund, would have taken 3 months, grabbed the 5% match, free money, killed the future credit card debt before it happened, then focused on student loans. If I'd followed the sequence, I'd have saved about $2,800 in interest and been debt-free 18 months sooner. The sequence isn't theory. It's what I learned by paying for the alternative. Here's how to figure out which step you're on and what to do next. Diagnostic question 1. Do you have $1,000 to $1,500 in a separate savings account you never touch? No, you're on step 1. Everything goes to starter emergency fund. Yes, go to question 2. Diagnostic question 2. Does your employer offer a 401k match, and are you contributing enough to get the full match? They offer it and you're not maxing the match, you're on step 2. You're getting the full match, or they don't offer one, go to question 3. Diagnostic question 3. Do you have any debt above 7% interest? Yes, you're on step 3. Avalanche that debt. No, go to question 4. Diagnostic question 4. Do you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in an emergency fund? No, you're on step 4. Build the full emergency fund. Yes, go to question 5. Diagnostic question 5. Are you investing at least 15% of your gross income for retirement? No, you're on step 5. Increase retirement contributions to 15%. Yes, you're on step 6. Optimize everything else. That's it. Run the diagnostic. Figure out your step. Do that step until it's done. Move to the next one. Don't skip steps. Don't split focus. Just execute the sequence. Look, I can't force you to follow the sequence. I can't make it faster or easier than it is. But I can tell you this: if you're stuck in the loop of working hard and getting nowhere, the problem isn't effort. It's order. You're doing the right things in the wrong sequence, which makes them the wrong things. The sequence isn't arbitrary. It's not one guru's opinion. It's the mathematically and psychologically optimal path for most people to get from financial chaos to financial stability as quickly as possible with the least amount of wasted money. So here's what I want you to do. Run the diagnostic. Figure out which step you're on. Then put 100% of your available money toward that one step until it's complete. Not 50%. Not a little bit to this and a little bit to that. 100% focused intensity until the step is done. Then move to the next step and do it again. It'll feel weird. It'll feel unbalanced. But trust the sequence. If this finally made the order clear, if you now know exactly what to do next instead of spinning in confusion, do me a favor and subscribe to Money Sketcher. I break down the frameworks most people get wrong so you can make progress instead of just motion. And if you want a free flowchart that walks you through the diagnostic and shows you exactly which step you're on, I'll link it in the description. Just a tool to help you find your place in the sequence. No upsell. Just clarity. Because the world is full of people giving you conflicting advice about money. But nobody's teaching you that the order you do things in is the whole game. I'll see you in the next breakdown. And Jamie? She restarted. Built the $1,500 emergency fund in 3 months. Grabbed the 4% match. Then threw everything at the credit card debt. 18 months later, she's debt-free with $6,000 in savings and maxing her 401k match. Same income. Same life. Different sequence. Sometimes the answer isn't working harder. It's working in the right order.